Well, we're back, and since the last video, I've had a lot of questions on the ribs. I happen to own a laser cutter, so I laser cutted my ribs here, and the questions were, well, I don't have a laser cutter. In the old days, whenever I first got started, what I used to do is take the picture of the rib, like I showed in the last video, and if you'll see this has a really nice thin balsa sheeting on the bottom. We don't want that in our rib whenever we're cutting them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just very gently cut that off and get rid of it. Then I'm going to line it up on this piece of cardboard here and tape it down. Then I'll show you what I used to do then. Okay, now once that's out of the way, you can just cut the rest of it off or just slice it here. It'd be fine. All right, lining it up with the bottom and the corner of your cardboard. Just tape this down so that it'll stay put. And once you got it taped down onto your cardboard, then we're going to proceed to cut it out. And what this is really going to do is the cardboard template will make it so as you're laying them out onto your pieces of balsa wood, and you can trace them. Fight me here. You can trace them out. All right, and then you take your X-Acto knife or your inexpensive little pen knife you get, and what you're going to do is you're going to literally just cut your edges here. I like to do it with a knife first, and whenever I come back with the scissors, they give me a nice trim line for my scissors to follow in. So I'm coming around, I'll get this cut. Once that's cut, come back, do these. You might want to try to get a nice ink pen, one that you really like the feel of, that works well in your hand. I use gel pens. All right, come back with the scissors and finish the cut. As you can see here, it's already cut. A lot of it's already pre-done. Got a nice line up there. Remove the rest of it, and then you'll have now, if you don't want to do it with a knife, you could have just went with the scissors right off the bat. Main idea is to get you a nice, smooth, nice template to lay down on your balsa wood. Take these out. Now, the nicer you do this, of course, the nicer your template's going to look. And once you get all done up here, you will have a nice template to go around on your balsa wood. Now, you have to make 18 of these, and that's why I was having you make it out of a little bit thicker piece, because you can't trace this out 18 times onto a piece of balsa wood. It just isn't going to work. So let's finish cutting this out real quick. It's kind of hard to try to tell you guys stuff I've learned over all these years. But these now are out of here. All right, I'll line my rib up with the bottom edge of my balsa. You can tape it down if you feel that's necessary. I've done it just this way. Trace out all of your Trace out your ribs. And you can do this just 18 times. And I've found that the best way to do this is literally just cut it a little bit large and then sand the top down to your line, and that'll give you your nicest rib. Take your knife, cut it out. It'll cut fairly easy. You can use what they call soft balsa for these, or hard balsa, your preference. But you can take and literally lay these out on your piece of 3-inch wide balsa. You can, stack them back and forth till you get them all cut out. Oops. Stop that. Now that we have it cut out, if you'll notice, you can still see the ink pen. If you're really good at cutting, you won't have to do this next step because they'll look really nice. Then I just take a sanding block, sand down to my ink line so I can see my ink line. As soon as I get done with that, I stack them all together, set them down, stack them together so that I've got them. I run my sander over it the last time. Again, I have a laser cutter, so I don't have to fool with that too much. Didn't have one till just recently, but this saves a lot of time. But this is the way I've done it for years, and it really makes a nice rib. So 18 more of these, we're ready to go. Next, I'm going to lay the plans down, tape them down, put my saran wrap on them so the glue doesn't hurt them. Then I'm going to go ahead and start gluing and building the wing, and I'll turn you back on as soon as I get to that point. Now, as you can see, I scotch taped this down on my table. It's going to be the left wing half. Once I've done this, I'm going to come back and I use saran wrap. What that does is whenever you're gluing it down, it stops the glue from penetrating the paper and gluing the paper down to your work surface. And it's not that hard to put down, just make sure you cover your plans real well. You're going to build the wing a half at a time. And we're going to start with the left-hand side. Here. We'll put down our piece of balsa. This is our spar. You can cut them to length now. You can cut them to length after we get done. We're going to start laying the ribs out. And all you have to do is put them down on top of your plans. You'll find that they fit really nice. And as you're coming on down, and you're fitting them into place and you're happy with it. Now, if you manage to do it with T-pins, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Now that we're starting to put our ribs up, you need a small angle, some sort of a device to try to hold your ribs at 90 degrees while you're coming in and you're doing your first glues. If you have these lined up really nice and you're happy with the fit, all right, I use thin CA, and I'll just put me a dab of glue on it as soon as I'm happy with it. I just moved there, sorry about that. This particular piece I got here in my hand is a 3D printed holder for my ribs, and it holds them in place while I'm gluing. And all I have to do is just run down the line here now and glue these ribs in place. And see how they try to fall over? Can't very well keep the camera up with what I'm doing, but I'm thinking you're going to see what I'm doing. Now, if you want to use the white glue method, that's fine too. just get yourself a ceiling tile. Get yourself some straight pins. We did it that way for years. CA glue is rather new to the hobby. Came out in like the 90s. Everybody started going to it. You put a dab on it, hold it for a minute, give it time to set. Move on to the next rib. And we're going to go all the way down the line, set these ribs in place, put the top piece in, or the top spar. As soon as I'm happy with getting them glued in the right spot. Then we're going to add the front cap strip, and we're going to add the back cap strip. Then we're going to go ahead and cut them off, put our wingtip on the end of it, build the other side, and it literally goes this quick. I mean, it may look like a lot, but putting the ribs on, getting them lined up where you're wanting them, getting them fitted into place, not a big deal. Now, instead of using this, if you wish, you could just use a little square block of wood that's square. You can use mini squares. There's a lot of items that you can get that are square. Main thing is to get your ribs perpendicular with your work surface. It just gives you a better wing, makes it easier, and they fly really well. And we'll go ahead and we'll finish up this wing. As you can see, I'm moving right along. Normally, instead of using that block, I was just trying to show you, I'll go ahead and push this down. And once I get it in place where I want it, just make sure it's square. And I hit it with a dab of glue. I'll move on to the next one until I get all the way to the end of the sheet. Once I'm happy with the fit, move on to the next rib. You probably can't see it no more because I'm out of picture frame. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this up, and we'll get back to you. Now we're going to come ahead and come across the top. Go ahead and get our spar in there. Getting our spar down. Get it pressed into place. Once it's in place, nice tight fit. Make sure all your ribs are 90. Once you got them where you want them, as you can see, this wing is starting to come together. I will go ahead and I will put the trailing edge piece on, and I'm going to put the leading edge, and then we can go ahead at that particular point and do the final sanding, and then we'll start to cap strip it. Now we'll start putting the leading edge onto our ribs. All it takes is just a drop or two of glue. Make sure everything's sitting nice and flat. Put our leading edge on. Keep running down it. Make sure your ribs are staying straight. keep coming down. Just keep gluing your ribs on. Get this leading edge on, then we'll go back here to the trailing edge. And now we're going to take and we're going to glue the trailing edge piece onto the wing. Make sure that everything's nice and square, lines up with the plans. Go ahead and we'll start putting some glue on it. Give it a sec to dry. And we'll start moving on down the line. If you're having trouble getting your glue to dry, you can always hit it with Kicker, or just sit there and hold it for another half a sec. And once you get down to the end, you've got all these glued on and it's dried a little bit. We can actually take this half of the wing up off the plans. And we could say that it's done. Grab some Kicker here. All right, you've just seen me take and build a wing in a short matter of time, short amount of time. All right, this is why we use this saran wrap. But here's half the wing right here. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to build the other half. I'll cut these off and add my wing tips. And then we'll join the two halves together. And as you can see, it goes together so simple and fast that it's almost a shame that more people don't build their own planes out of balsa. Another nice thing about building off of plans is if I had these plans and say I wanted to enlarge them, all I would have to do is take and figure out how much bigger I wanted it. And as I'm going to tile them and put them together, you can go down, you can download this file and go to Kinko's and just get them done as one sheet. But these are the tiled plans, just like I'm telling you guys to use, so that you wouldn't think that I'm doing something different. But you can see here where I've taped it together, right? And this is how they go together, and this is what it gives you. And like I said, here's half the wing, all right? That's simple. Of course, I've got to cap it, all right? I've got to take and shape the front edge so that it looks like the leading edge here. It just really all I'm going to be doing is shaping this around with the leading edge like so. And I'll just come on down and I'll just shape it just like that so that you got a nice leading edge piece. You can buy the leading edge piece to that shape, but then again, whenever you're scratch building, you make what you need as you're going along. Now, I'll go ahead and I'll build the other half, and I'll show you how I'm going to join them together, the dihedral in them, and we'll go from there. Do is break it up here, and we'll catch up on the next video. Thank you.